Karin, can you give us a bit more details about what happened with this?
Right, and so these class actions filed in BC Supreme Court, J.B. MacKinnon, the author of the 100-Mile Diet, among other books, claim on behalf of all Canadian authors that thousands of books were used illegally, without their permission and without licensing, and fed into these large language models used by companies like NVIDIA, like Meta, to create their artificial intelligence, which is then used to sell products on the marketplace. And they're saying that's not right, that this is against copyright and that they deserve compensation for this. They say many of the books were pirated, and in fact, that the books had their copyright stamps removed, so even the artificial intelligence doesn't know that it's using copyrighted material. It's a really interesting case, and one that's very timely when you think of where we are. Now, MacKinnon, I talked to him, and he says this feels like a David versus Goliath, you know, with these tech companies. NVIDIA, for example, has a market valuation of $4.28 billion, and these are just writers that are trying to make a living in that very, hard marketplace.
Now, I understand there was also a similar case that happened in San Francisco. What can you tell us about that?
Right. So American law doesn't necessarily inform what's going to happen in Canada. And of course, these cases have to be certified as a class action first before they can move ahead here in Canada. But in the States, what a judge in San Francisco said was that it was okay for these tech companies to use copyrighted material because the end product was something that was completely unique. Therefore, it falls under what they call the fair use guidelines. But what the judge did say is that books that were used without that were pirated, that came from online sources, these sort of pirated online libraries, that might be a different situation, and that's going to be looked at a little bit later in this court case.